From Channel 3 Eyewitness News, this is Trends on 3.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Trends on 3. I'm Latrice Curry. Coming up on today's show, tips for families when it comes to navigating Alzheimer's and COVID-19 this holiday season. Plus, the pandemic is making this holiday season more challenging for everyone, including senior citizens. Hear from an expert on how to continue those holiday traditions with elderly family members during the pandemic. Also, during the season of giving, there is an increased need to make sure our neighbors don't go hungry. A closer look at the relationship between heart disease and food insecurity. And the election of the first female and first black vice president of the United States has sparked not only a sense of pride, but also motivation for other women. How you can take part in the National Coalition of 100 Black Women's upcoming workshop, Run, Woman, Run. But first, the holiday season is usually a joyous time of year for most families, but it can be very difficult for those dealing with Alzheimer's disease, especially during a pandemic. I spoke with Lorraine Ramey from the Northwest Georgia chapter of the Alzheimer's Association.
All right, Lorraine, thank you so much for joining me. You know, when we start talking about the holidays, Alzheimer's, and the pandemic, this can really be overwhelming for families trying to cope with and deal with all of this.
Absolutely, Latrice. It's already a hard disease to deal with, being a caregiver all the time, and then you add the isolation and the wearing of the mask can even be scary to some folks, that are dealing with dementia. They don't understand. And then the whole washing your hands and sanitizing your hands and all of that can really be overwhelming for a caregiver as well as the person living with dementia.
Now, if your loved one is with you, and sometimes they are, and then in some cases they are somewhere else. But let's start with if they are there and they are with you and you're trying to have an in-person gathering, but things are going to have to be different this year. Let's talk about some advice you have. And one of the first things that you said is to celebrate smart and to celebrate safe. What do you mean by that?
Well, celebrate smart is listen to the experts about the COVID and celebrate smart. Even though the dementia and Alzheimer's is not part of how somebody can get COVID-19, it is a lot of times the underlying other health conditions that would make them more susceptible to possibly, getting COVID-19. So what we ask is that either make your gatherings smaller and, maybe different groups visit at different times with the caregiver and the person living with dementia. Or if you have an option of a really large space, like, I don't know, maybe renting your church's fellowship hall and that you can practice that social distancing and sanitizing and wearing, your mask and try to have a celebration. That's kind of what we mean when we talk about, being smart and being safe. And also we talk about virtual as well, what that looks like for families. It could mean doing a virtual gathering, a Zoom, a Skype, a Google Hangout. And we suggest that maybe you do something as a family virtually, like make cookies, or if there's a lot of children, maybe an adult in the family read a story. And always remember too, a lot of individuals living with Alzheimer's or dementia can get overwhelmed very easily. So you've got to take that into consideration as well.
That's so important. So as we kind of wrap up, one of the things talking about is that, be smart, be safe. And another thing is to keep it simple, because I think that when you try to complicate things at any time of the year, but especially now with all this going on, and someone who is already confused can make the holidays that much more stressful for them and for the caregiver.
Absolutely. And just for example, one of the things we did in our family for Thanksgiving is we had a food exchange. So we didn't all get together, but we all made the foods that we normally make, and then we dropped it off at my aunt's, and then they left their food out for us. And so we took their, so we kind of had a Thanksgiving of gift giving of food. So, those are things that you can do, maybe share your favorite, like if you're the person that makes the great desserts, you still share your desserts, even though you don't actually get together. So, so that's just another idea too.
And it is, and I love that we've got to being creative during these times. Lorraine, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, it's always wonderful to talk to you, Latrice.
Coming up on the other side of the break, isolation is also a major concern this holiday season. I spoke with a local expert on the importance of keeping those traditions alive with the elderly family members in your life.